Hello, this is Gwyn from TheFaeFolk, and today I will be reviewing Bastian's song. Title. The title is a good one, and it is certainly unique. However, all I can think of is some sort of Little Mermaid fanfic, probably because Bastian sounds really close to Sebastian. It's a good title, but I'm not sure if it gives off the right vibes. The text on your cover is certainly readable, so I'm not worried about that, and there's definitely nothing wrong with the style of your cover. However, the music staff is a bit strangely placed being near the bottom, and having the author's name in the top corner is not a good idea as it's barely noticeable. Your book sounds like it could be a good book, but the cover's not one that particularly interests me to read it. It might be different for other readers, but it didn't excite me. And now we'll read the blurb. Prince Bastian is the last in a long line of mermen blessed by the goddess Selene with incredible power. As the tension between his clan and their mortal enemy rises, he prepares to go to war to gain vengeance for the murder of his father. Just after Bastian's coronation, new information comes to light in the form of an uninvited ambassador. Can he trust that this daughter of his enemy is telling the truth? If she is not, can his clan survive the consequences? Your blurb is short and definitely not info dumping, but there's several drawbacks to that. It's not a very exciting blurb, and it's rather confusing to read because I feel that there's information missing. The first line is a good one, but the rest of the blurb is lacking the same depth. It just reads as a rather boring story. If you want to attract more readers, you should definitely try to make it sound more exciting to draw your reader in. Your blurb as it is right now is rather vague. I'd like more meat to excite me to read on other than what you just have at the moment. Overall, your grammar was pretty good, no glaring mistakes or anything. But there were several places where commas were either missing or should have been taken out. Commas are used to show separate thoughts in a sentence and also to mark pausing places. What really helps is to read your story out loud and mark the places where one would pause in the narration. What might also be helpful is to look up comma rules and compare because a lot of different people have different views as to where commas should be used, etc. The only other grammar mistake I saw was a few places where a hyphen should have been used to connect two words that were being used together in your descriptions. Other than that, it was good. I only read the prologue and the first 5 chapters preceding the prologue. You did a very good job setting up characters during this short period since I could easily list off these people's names and know who I'm talking about. However, I would like to see more details about these mer people and what they look like so their looks stick more in my mind because beyond a few scales and silvers and golds, etc., I don't really have a good idea as to who anyone looks like besides Bastian. I would also like to see more personalities being revealed in these beginning chapters. I have very vague ideas as to what these people are like, and I would love to see more of their personality, whether it's just their attitude of life or random quirks some people might have. Besides, Melodia baring her fangs all the time, which I think is something that should be worked on more since it's getting redundant, and I don't really have much sympathy for her and can't fully understand why she's doing that. I don't really see any personality action going on in your story. What you have is good, but I would definitely like to see more. The plot was the biggest issue for me, and no worries, it wasn't a huge issue. I'm just being extremely nitpicky because your story is good and has a lot of potential, and I hope to help you make it better, especially since you're working on editing it. You open up your story with this musical romance mythological thing going on with the moon and that shepherd. I have a feeling it's from Greek mythology because it sounds really familiar. Anyway, I really enjoyed this opening and it definitely made me interested in the story. However, the first few chapters, which to me felt like they should really be one chapter, felt more like they should be a prologue rather than part of the book, just the way you narrated it and the briefness of it. You have great stuff going on in the prologue of sorts, especially with the narrative and the attention for detail. I want to see this carried on through the rest of your story. The opening felt really bland in comparison with your prologue, so I definitely encourage you to create more tension in the opening of your story. You have some of that going on, but I want to see more. These are your first chapters. I want to see more to hold me into reading more of your story. What you have is good, but I think that some fleshing out of it would definitely help. Also, what also helps with tense moments is to have your character's thoughts shown, their physical reactions to things and stuff like that. Another tactic is describing obscure things that the character notices that stand out to them in that moment. It helps build tension. You don't have to do this, but I'm just offering suggestions. You're free to leave or take them. You have a great story idea, but I personally feel as a reader that it could do with more work. I love music, and I've always had a soft spot for sea fantasy stories. And did I mention I squealed at your mentioning Selkies? I love those mythological creatures. Your story was a fun one to read, and it definitely has a lot of potential. I went in depth in this review because I want to, hopefully, help you make your story even better. You have great stuff going on, and your prologue was excellent, so I know that you can write in a fascinating way that grabs your reader's attention right from the start. However, I want to see more of this carried on throughout your story. I know you can do it, and I want to encourage you to continue pursuing such excellence, especially since you're editing. I hope this was helpful, and best of luck with your story and further writing.